Welcome back, everybody, to the deep dive. This time, we're diving into mindfulness. We'll be going way beyond just, the basics. Mindfulness can bring so much peace and presence to your life.
It's so interesting. Mindfulness has these ancient roots, but modern research is really showing us how deeply it affects us, like in our brains and bodies, too.
Yeah, so it's more than just relaxation techniques. What are some of the surprising ways that mindfulness impacts us? Deeper level stuff.
Well, okay, so mindfulness can help rewire our brains to deal with stress better, So instead of just reacting impulsively, we can learn to pause, observe our emotions, and then choose how we want to respond.
So it's like we're taking control back from being on autopilot all the time, which is especially helpful now, right? Everything's so fast-paced.
Yeah, exactly. And it's not even just managing stress. Studies are showing that mindfulness can really improve our focus, our attention span. It's like a mental workout for your brain. It helps us stay present.
I've definitely heard about mindfulness helping with focus. How does that actually work, though? Is it just quieting the mind?
It's more than that. It's a specific kind of attention. It's called non-judgmental awareness. Basically, we can learn to see our thoughts and feelings without getting swept away by them.
Right.
And that helps us choose where we want to put our attention.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. So we're not ruled by all these distractions. We're training our minds to choose what we want to focus on.
Exactly. And that ability to, focus our attention, it impacts other parts of our lives too. Our relationships, for example.
Okay, yeah, relationships. So how does mindfulness play into that? How we connect with other people?
Well, when we're more present, we can actually listen better. We're not stuck in our heads, so we can really hear what someone is saying, which builds deeper understanding and connection.
It's the difference between hearing words versus actually absorbing them, right? And that deeper listening can transform how we communicate.
Absolutely. And this whole idea of being present, it's not a new thing. You can see it in ancient wisdom, like in Philippians 4.67, it says to give our anxieties to God, and then we get this peace that goes beyond our understanding.
So finding peace in the present moment, it's been around for centuries. It's a timeless way to deal with worry and anxiety.
Exactly. And mindfulness gives us the actual tools to find that peace, like focusing on our breath or practicing gratitude.
That sounds like a good place to start. I imagine there are different techniques for different situations. So how can we incorporate mindfulness into our lives or daily routines?
Well, one technique that's really helpful for managing stress is called the body scan meditation. You just bring your attention to each part of your body. You notice any sensations that are there without judging them.
Oh, okay. So it's we're taking inventory of our body and we can become more aware of what's happening inside.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes just by noticing those sensations, we can release tension that we didn't even know was there.
That sounds really helpful for when we feel super overwhelmed and stressed. Are there other practices we can do to feel calm and present, throughout the day?
Oh yeah, definitely. Even something as simple as mindful walking can make a big difference. So instead of letting your mind wander, you use all your senses. You notice how your feet feel on the ground, the rhythm of your breath, what you see and hear around you.
Oh, so it's about bringing that mindful awareness to an everyday thing. You can transform walking into a mindful practice.
Exactly. And as you keep doing this, you'll see that you can bring that same awareness to other things too, like eating, or showering, or even just doing the dishes.
It's interesting how just those small shifts in how we pay attention can bring peace and presence to even ordinary tasks.
Yeah. And that verse in Psalm 46.10 that's be still and know that I am God. It's about finding stillness in all the busiest to connect with a higher power and that inner peace.
That's a great reminder. It's not just about techniques. Mindfulness it's about cultivating a deeper connection to ourselves and everything around us.
That's it. And as we explore mindfulness more, we'll get into the practical techniques and how you can make this practice work for you and for your challenges.
So, you were saying earlier that mindfulness isn't one size fits all. How can we personalize it to make it work for us? For our own, needs and struggles.
Right. That's a really important point. You have to accept that there will be challenges. That's just part of it.
Okay. So it's not about being blissed out all the time or silencing our thoughts completely.
No, not at all. Actually, when you try to force your mind to be quiet, it usually backfires. A big part of mindfulness is acceptance. You acknowledge the thoughts and feelings you have without judging them.
Okay, so instead of fighting with what's going on inside us, we can just be curious about it and like be kind to ourselves.
Exactly. And that can be so helpful when you're dealing with like tough emotions, like anxiety or frustration.
Yeah, I can see how changing your perspective like that could really make a difference. Instead of getting like stuck in the struggle, you're making room for those emotions so they don't like overwhelm you.
Right, exactly. And there are like specific techniques that can help you when you're feeling that way. Then I find really helpful is called RAIN. It stands for Recognize, Allow, Investigate, and Nurture.
RAIN. Okay. That's interesting. Can you like break that down for us? How did that work?
Sure. So the first step, recognize, is just about, noticing what's going on inside you. Like what thoughts are you having? What feelings? Are there any like physical sensations? And you don't judge them. You just acknowledge them. Just be kind of curious about them.
So you're tuning into what's going on inside, but you don't have to like get swept away by it all.
Yeah. And then allow. This step is about letting whatever's there just be there. No resistance. You're creating space for your experience, even if it's, not a pleasant one.
That can be hard though, right? Like we usually try to like avoid those uncomfortable feelings. How can we learn to just let them be?
It takes practice, but you just have to remember that emotions are like waves. They come and go. And when you let them be there, you're not giving them power over you. You're just acknowledging them.
So it's like you're letting those emotions like move through you instead of getting like stuck.
Exactly. And once you've, recognized and allowed what you're experiencing, then you can investigate it. This is where you get curious about your experience. Ask yourself, what's the story I'm telling myself about this? What am I like feeling in my body? What are my needs or my desires that are like behind these feelings?
So it's like you become a detective of your own inner world.
That's a great way to put it. And then finally, nurture. Here's where you offer yourself some kindness. What do you need in this moment? Maybe it's a couple of deep breaths or some kind words to yourself, maybe a gentle stretch. You're responding to yourself the same way you would to someone you care about.
That's such a good point. It's easier to be kind to other people than to ourselves sometimes. But self-compassion is like so important, especially when we're struggling. So RAIN, it's a technique we can use when mindfulness feels hard, when our mind is racing or we feel overwhelmed.
Yeah, exactly. It helps you be present and compassionate with whatever's coming up.
Yeah.
It helps you navigate those like rough waters. And we see this in scripture too, like Galatians 6:9 says, let us not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. It's a reminder to keep practicing kindness and compassion to ourselves and to others.
I love that. Mindfulness isn't just about like calming our minds. It's about, cultivating a heart that's open and compassionate and strong and like farming, It takes time and patience and care to cultivate mindfulness, but the results are worth it. You end up with a life that's more present and peaceful and fulfilling.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And remember, you don't have to do this alone. There are tons of resources out there, mindfulness apps, online communities, local meditation groups. There are even therapists who specialize in mindfulness practices. So reach out for support when you need it and celebrate your progress, because even small steps towards mindfulness can make a big difference in your life.
This has been so helpful. I'm really starting to understand how mindfulness can help us deal with all the ups and downs of life. But as we keep going with this deep dive, I'd love to learn about some of those practical techniques you mentioned earlier. What are some ways we can make mindfulness part of our everyday routines?
Yeah, so one really simple but effective practice is to set reminders throughout the day. You can use your phone or sticky notes or even just mental cues to remind yourself to, take a few mindful breaths or to check in with your senses. Like every time you wash your hands, you could pause for a moment and feel the water, smell the soap.
I like that. You're taking those ordinary moments and turning them into opportunities to be mindful. What are some other tips?
Mindfulness apps are great too. There are so many good ones out there, like Headspace and Calm, that have guided meditations, mindfulness exercises, even sleep stories. They can be a great way to start practicing mindfulness or to go deeper with your practice.
It's like having a mindfulness coach in your pocket, right? I've heard really good things about those apps. What about connecting with other people? Can that help with mindfulness?
Oh, absolutely. Joining a mindfulness community can give you a sense of support, and help you stay committed to your practice. You can find local groups, online forums, or Even just connect with friends who are interested in mindfulness. It's so valuable to share your experiences and learn from other people.
It's always great to connect with people who get it, right? What about gratitude? Earlier you talked about gratitude journaling, but are there other ways to be more grateful in our daily lives?
Oh yeah, definitely. You can make it a habit to express gratitude to people. Thank a coworker, send a nice message to a friend. You can even practice gratitude when things are tough. Finding things to appreciate even during challenges. It helps you shift your perspective and focus on the positive.
So, like finding the silver linings, even when things are hard. That's a good reminder. It seems like mindfulness is about more than just techniques. It's about a way of being in the world that's like more present, more compassionate, more connected to something bigger than ourselves.
I like that. That's a really good way to put it. Mindfulness isn't just an inward journey. It's a way to change how we relate to others and to the world. When we practice mindfulness, we can see the needs of others better, and we're more aware of the beauty around us, and we're just more grateful for life.
Yeah, it's like mindfulness creates this ripple effect that starts with us and then like spreads out to touch every part of our lives. But I'm curious, what about those times when mindfulness is like really hard? Like we talked about some of the common obstacles, but are there any specific strategies we can use when our mind won't stop racing, or when we're feeling really overwhelmed, or when life just throws us a curveball?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. And the good news is there are mindfulness practices that are specifically for those tough times. One that can be really helpful is called loving kindness meditation. It's about cultivating feelings of warmth, compassion, and goodwill towards ourselves and other people.
Loving kindness meditation. That sounds powerful. So how does it work?
So you start by sending loving kindness to yourself, and then you gradually extend it outward. You include loved ones, people you know, even strangers, and even people you have a hard time with. You can use specific phrases or visualizations to help cultivate those feelings of warmth and compassion.
So it's like you're like radiating positive energy outwards, starting with yourself, and then it goes out to include other people.
Yeah, that's it. And as you practice this, you might notice it gets easier to access those feelings of kindness and compassion, even when things are difficult.
That's amazing. It sounds like a really powerful way to counteract all the negativity that can take over our thoughts and, even how we interact with people.
It can be. And along with loving kindness meditation, there's another practice you could try. It's called mindful movement.
Mindful movement. Okay, so does that mean I have to become like a yoga master or run marathons or something?
No, not at all. Mindful movement can be anything. Yoga and Tai Chi are good examples, but even just stretching or walking, but you're paying attention as you move. The key is to really focus on how your body feels as you're moving.
So it's about that mind-body connection, right? Being present in your body as you're moving.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mindful movement is a great way to release tension.
Yeah.
And improve flexibility and just feel more grounded and present. And it doesn't have to be strenuous or take a lot of time. Even a few minutes of stretching or gentle movement can make a difference.
I'm seeing now how mindfulness can be a part of so many parts of our lives. It's not just sitting and meditating. It's about bringing that present moment awareness to everything we do.
You got it. Mindfulness it's a way of life.
Yeah.
It's a way to be in the world with more awareness and compassion and intention. It's about enjoying the simple things and appreciating the beauty around us and connecting more deeply with ourselves and others.
This has been such an inspiring conversation. I feel like I've learned so much about how powerful mindfulness can be. But as we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I have a question. We've talked about all these amazing benefits, but what about the skeptics? What would you say to someone who's not sure about trying mindfulness or thinks it's just a bunch of new age stuff?
That's a great question. I would say that mindfulness isn't about believing in anything specific, or following a certain spiritual practice. It's just about paying attention to what's happening right now with curiosity or without judging. It's a skill. Anyone can learn it, no matter their background or beliefs.
So it's about letting go of all those ideas you might have about it and just experiencing it for what it is.
Right, and to approach it with an open mind and see what it's all about.
That's it. And, if you're a little hesitant, just start small. You don't have to jump into hour-long meditations or anything. Even just taking a few mindful breaths or doing a quick body scan can make a difference. Okay, so baby steps, right? Find what works for you and just kind of ease into it.
Exactly. And, there's a lot of research now that shows that even small amounts of mindfulness can really improve your your well-being.
Oh, speaking of research, what are some of the most interesting findings that have come out lately about the benefits of mindfulness?
Well, one thing that's really fascinating is how mindfulness affects our brains.
Hmm.
Like studies have actually shown that practicing mindfulness regularly can change the structure and function of our brains. In good ways, of course.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So we're not just talking about feeling better temporarily. It's like actual physical changes in our brains.
Yeah, it's really incredible. For example, mindfulness can increase gray matter in the parts
Okay.
of the brain that deal with, attention and managing emotions and self-awareness.
So it's like we're strengthening those parts of our brains, the ones that help us, deal with all the challenges that come up in life. Yeah.
Exactly. And those changes in the brain show up as real improvements in our lives,
Yeah.
like less stress, better focus, being able to bounce back from tough situations.
It's kind of mind-blowing that something as simple as paying attention to the present moment can do so much for us.
It really is. And the great thing about mindfulness is that it's a skill anyone can learn, no matter how old you are or your background or what you believe in.
Yeah, that's a really powerful message. It's like a gift we can give ourselves, a way to feel more peaceful and be more present and just, live a better life.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And as you go on this journey, remember to be patient with yourself. Mindfulness it's not about reaching a destination, it's about the journey itself.
Yeah, it's about embracing the whole process, the ups and downs, the moments when things are clear and the moments when we get distracted.
Yeah. Exactly. And those moments of distraction, those are actually really good opportunities to practice. Every time you realize your mind has wandered, you're strengthening your mindfulness muscle.
Oh, so it's like we're training our minds to come back to the present moment over and over again.
That's exactly it. And as you practice, it gets easier to come back. It becomes more natural. You'll find that you can access that sense of presence more easily, even when things are tough.
This has been this has been such a great deep dive into mindfulness. We've talked about the science behind it and the techniques and how it can transform our lives.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with something to think about. Imagine a world where everyone practiced just a little bit of mindfulness every day.
That's a really beautiful thought. A world where people are more present with each other, more compassionate, more connected to themselves and everyone around them.
Exactly. And that world, it starts with each of us. When we practice mindfulness, we're not just changing our own lives, we're helping to create a more mindful world.
Well, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your knowledge and insights. It's been a real pleasure to dive deep into mindfulness with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to everyone listening, I encourage you to keep exploring mindfulness. I hope it brings you more peace and joy and a deeper sense of fulfillment in your lives.
And that concludes our deep dive into mindfulness. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we hope you'll join us next time for another fascinating topic. Until then, may you find, moments of peace and presence in your everyday life.